You shouldn't dare enter any of these places. These are the top 5 most restrictive areas on Earth. Number 5. Romero Test Range. The Romero Test Range is a weapons test facility located in South Australia. It is run by the Royal Australian Armed Forces and covers a massive 49,000 square miles of land. In fact, it is the largest land weapons test facility in the world. The range consists of 2 restrictive areas, the area of land called the Wimmera Prohibited Area, and the airspace above it called the Wimmera Restricted Airspace. The range was initially set up by the British, who asked to test their missiles there during World War II, since it was fairly uninhabited. From 1955 to 1963, the British used the area to test nuclear weapons. They eventually withdrew from the area in 1980, but the range is still used by the Australian Defence Forces to test highly advanced weapons. It's also used as a storage site for radioactive waste. Number 4. Area 51. Area 51 has exercised the imaginations of UFO enthusiasts for decades. The highly restricted area is located in the desert of Lincoln County, Nevada. It's about 80 miles northwest of Las Vegas, and it is one of the most highly restrictive and secretive areas in the world. The secrecy surrounding Area 51 has given way to numerous conspiracy theories, including the famous theory that Area 51 hosts extraterrestrial life. In fact, the place was so secretive that its existence wasn't even publicly declared until 2013, when the CIA finally stepped up and admitted that yes, Area 51 does indeed exist. What exactly takes place at Area 51 is still a secret. The area is highly guarded and patrolled by pickup trucks and guards in camouflage outfits. And although you can drive up to the perimeter of Area 51, the signage surrounding the area clearly indicates that deadly force is authorized against trespassers. Anyone who steps a foot inside Area 51 could face prison time. Number 3. The Chernobyl Exclusion Zone. On April 25, 1986, the most disastrous nuclear accident in history occurred at a power plant in Ukraine. Known as the Chernobyl disaster or Chernobyl accident, a combination of errors led to a massive radiation leak, and the effects of which are still felt today. The Chernobyl disaster was caused by a flawed reactor design and the mistakes of personnel that were not properly trained. Chernobyl 4 reactor was destroyed. 5% of the radioactive reactor core was released into the environment, causing huge environmental impact and death. 2 people that were directly involved in the accident died immediately, and another 28 people died in the months that followed. These deaths were caused by acute radiation syndrome, but humans were not the only species affected by the disaster. The radiation wreaked havoc on the surrounding environment. Plants, wildlife, insects, animals, and everything within the radiation zone was greatly affected. Today, the area surrounding the power plant, known as the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone, is a highly restricted area. The zone covers 1,000 square miles. It is one of the most radioactively contaminated areas in the world. Even to this day, animals, plants, and insects display weird genetic mutations. Scientists say that the zone will have to remain uninhabited for at least 3,000 years, so it will be a very long time before anyone can live in this area again. Number 2. Povegila, the Haunted Island. It is highly illegal to visit the haunted island of Povegila, and rightfully so. The island is close to Venice, off the coast of northern Italy, and has seen so many deaths that people claim the island is haunted. During the Roman Empire and the medieval era, Povegila was used as a dumping ground for people with the plague. Anyone who showed signs of the plague were sent to Povegila to die. And as a result, the island has become overrun with corpses. And even more terrifying, plague paranoia caused people who weren't even infected to be dumped there. Anyone who showed even the slightest symptoms of the plague were rounded up and hauled off to the island, where they would eventually become infected and die. The corpses were burned, but there were so many that now more than 50% of the island's soil is comprised of human ash. But that's not the only horrifying thing the island was used for. In 1922, a mental hospital was opened on the island, but due to the hospital's isolation, it was rumored that patients underwent horrific scientific experiments and abuse. According to rumor, a particularly evil doctor used to perform countless crazy operations on patients, including forced lobotomies. In recent years, anyone who's been brave enough to step foot on this island has reported strange occurrences, including the sounds of screens and the feeling of being watched. The whole island is now a highly restricted area. And finally, number 1, Snake Island, Brazil. Officially called Quimadra Grande, Snake Island is a small island in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Brazil. The island is only 110 acres, and all 110 acres are highly restricted. Snake Island, Brazil is home to the highest concentrations of one of the most venomous snakes in the world, the Bothrops insularis, more commonly known as the golden lancehead pit viper. Doesn't just live on the island, it completely saturates it. The island used to be connected to the mainland, but rising sea levels eventually broke this connection, and all the snakes on the island became trapped. Over many centuries, they multiplied and multiplied until there were tens of thousands of them. The concentration of snakes on the island is so high that there is anywhere between 1 to 5 snakes for every 3 feet of land. And as you can imagine, no one except a very select group of researchers are allowed on the island. The snakes are so highly venomous that they account for 95% of deaths caused by snake bites in Brazil. Their venom actually melts the flesh around the bite wound. One bite can kill a grown man within hours, and given the number of snakes on the island, it's highly unlikely that anyone would be bitten only once. The golden lancehead pit viper can grow 46 inches long and can be found hiding anywhere on the island, from within the crevices of rock to high above the treetops. The island wasn't always restricted, and in coastal towns nearby, locals tell the tales of the ghastly deaths that happened on Snake Island. One such unsuspected man wandered onto the island one day to pick bananas, but was savagely attacked by snakes and barely made it back to his boat before he died. The family that used to run the lighthouse on the island also suffered a similar fate when the venomous snakes crawled in through their windows. In fact, no one in the family survived. It was shortly after that that the island became restricted, and today Snake Island remains one of the most restricted areas on the planet. And before we close out today's video, we have a couple honorable mentions that didn't make the list. Heart Island is located in the middle of the Southern Ocean, around 1,000 miles north of the Atlantic continent. It takes 2 weeks to get there from Australia through some of the roughest waters in the world. The extreme isolation of Heart Island has allowed the island to remain untouched by man. As such, the island is home to a bounty of unique animals and marine life. Heart Island is therefore very restrictive because scientists and researchers want to keep this precious land unmodified by humans. Heart Island is one of the most untouched places on the planet, and by restricting the island to visitors, it will remain that way. Also, check this out. North Sentinel Island, on the other hand, is home to humans, but the humans that live on the island are untouched by the outside world. The Sentinelese are one of the last people in the world that have been untouched by modern civilization. The island is restricted, and the Sentinelese people are protected under the Andaman and Nicobar Regulation of 1995. They restricted the island for 2 reasons. The first of which, that the Sentinelese people would be highly susceptible to any type of disease. But the Sentinelese people are also known to be incredibly violent and have killed people that have wandered onto the island. Therefore, not only for safety of the people on the island, but for the safety of people visiting the island, it remains highly restrictive. Anyways, be sure to check out my previous video on the top 5 weirdest Japanese products. And in the meantime, subscribe for more.